It has begun.
All right, there's the ding. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our January NERA webinar. My name is Jonathan Steinberg. I am the 2023-2024 NERA president. I will be your host for this afternoon. Glad to have you all with us. We have two wonderful presenters today, Hannah Smith from Assumption College and Nellie Rushton from Stanford University, who are very excited to talk about their NERA experience, and some of the people who are in the room with us are like myself. I've been a member since 2007, and many people here have been members about that long, or maybe it just seems like that long, but they've done a lot of great work for the organization, attended many of our annual conferences, and are more than happy to offer their experiences in addition to what Hannah and Nellie will be doing now. So I will be monitoring the chat for any questions. Hannah and Nellie may be also, but that's fine. So I will turn it over to Hannah now. And again, welcome everyone.
Awesome. Cool. So before I share my screen, we kind of want to get a feeling of who's in the audience today. And I put, once you see the screen, instead of by Hannah and Nellie, it's just by the NERA team. So this is like a collaborative event where people that are not me and Nellie can share also their experience, can answer questions about NERA. So anyone is open to answer questions or add to what we're saying based on their experience. But if we could just go around the Zoom quickly, I'll just call out names, or we'll popcorn names to make it easier. Just introduce yourself, your affiliation, and then what brought you to this webinar today. So I can go first. I am Hannah. I'm an assistant professor at Assumption University, and I am here to present and share my experience at the NERA conference. I'll let Nellie go next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nellie, and I'm a freshman at Stanford University. And I'm also here to present and share my amazing NERA experience. And just for context, Hannah was my mentor throughout high school and my research mentor. And she brought me along to NERA. So that's why I'm here today. And I will popcorn to Shelby.
Hi everyone, I'm Shelby Perry. I'm an adjunct professor at New England Institute of Technology. I'm also the social media coordinator for NERA. So if you have any requests or if you see things on LinkedIn, Facebook, that's me who does it. I joined NERA in 2021 as the public health intern when COVID was still a thing. Hank Johnson brought me on, and I'm here to kind of share my journey about NERA. Thanks to Hannah and I tried to put your names together, Hannah and Nellie. So I'm gonna pass it over to Bo.
Thanks, Shelby. Hi, everyone. My name is Will Bashkov. I am the past president of NERA. If you attended last year's conference, you probably saw me around. And I've been going to NERA for the last 12 years, so quite a while, but very curious to hear what our newer attendees have to share. And if needed, I can chime in about the value of being a longer term NERA member. But glad to be here and see everyone. I'll popcorn to Carmen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carmen Ferrari. I go to school. I work two jobs at FDU and go to school there. And my academic advisor asked us to jump on and to learn more about this organization. So it's all new to me. So this is going to be fun. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Welcome. And we can go to Christine.
Hi, my name's Christine Teeny. I'm going to school at Stockton for my Ed Day, and my DIP chair suggested I pop on. He's had some students present before at the concert, so I'm just listening. I will have to cut out in about 45 minutes because we have I'm a director of curriculum and my school has an event tonight, so I'm glad to see this is being recorded. Oh, and I'm sorry, did we do Caroline yet? We could popcorn there.
Hi, I'm Caroline Prendergast. I'm a psychometrician at the American Board of Surgery. I've been going to NERA since 2018 or so. And I am here today as a member of the 2024 co-chairs just to see what folks' experiences are and how we can keep that going in the future. Let's see, Stephen.
I'm Steve Holtzman. I've been going to NERA since 2009, so I'm a long-term NERA member as well. And I'm here today to support the webinar as well as hear about Hannah and Nellie's first in-person experience last year and hear how it was, because unfortunately I wasn't able to go last year, so I'm curious what their experience was. I'll popcorn over to Spencer.
Okay. I'm Spencer. I'm a student at New England Institute of Technology, and I'm pretty much here because my department head, Hank Johnson, invited me to learn more about NERA.
Awesome, welcome. And Alicia, you can finish us off.
Actually, it's Alyssa.
Sorry.
It's okay. That happens all the time. I am a test development coordinator at the University of Kansas with AAI Atlas. I'm on the science team. My supervisor and some others presented at NERA last year, and she suggested this could be an interesting workshop. So I signed up.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. So we're going to start, but feel free to interrupt us as we go along. We want this to be for all of you. So we aim to just answer your questions. So interrupt us at any time with any questions that you have. Okay. Can everybody see the slides?
Yep, you're good.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So first, we're going to start off by sharing our experience at NERA, along with a few of our colleagues' experiences at NERA. It's largely students, since often people start at a conference when they're a student. So we have a few different perspectives from different first experiences at NERA. So my experiences first. Again, I'm Hannah Smith. I'm an assistant professor at Assumption University, but I first attended NERA when I was a graduate student in learning sciences and technologies at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. So I first attended NERA as a second-year graduate student in 2019. NERA was my first ever conference presentation, and I was so nervous, but it ended up going great. Everyone at NERA was so welcoming. And I really felt like it was a great place to have that first conference presentation experience. And then since that time, I've actually brought many more students with me to have their first conference experience. And now I'm a co-chair for the 2024 conference. So it's also been really great within NERA to feel like I've grown in my role at the conference, and it's really adapted as as I've gotten older, changed in my position. I also within NERA, my position has changed. So I just have a quote. I had said, an older graduate student brought me, and since then I make sure to bring new students with me every year. We usually pile in my car. So there was 5 of us last year that drove down from Massachusetts. And then I said, NERA was such a welcoming, supportive environment. I was so lucky to have my first conference presentation here. Attending NERA ignited my passion and excitement for education research. And now as a professor, it's great to be involved in NERA in a leadership role. There's always opportunities within NERA for people who are interested. And now we'll have Nellie share her experience.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Nellie, and like I said earlier, I'm a freshman at Stanford, but I'm originally from Worcester, Massachusetts, which is how I met Hannah. I'm one of the Hannah recruits, one of many of Hannah's NERA recruits. And I first attended NERA as a high school junior when we had the virtual conference in 2021. And Hannah invited me to present with her because we submitted our work as co-authors on a project we had worked on in a program for women's research and mentorship, which is how I met Hannah and how she became my mentor and encouraged me to submit my first conference submission with her. And she really walked me through that process to the point where we got to present our poster virtually. And that was my first conference experience ever. I had no idea what to expect. I remember I left my high school calc class and I went to the library during our poster session. And I was super nervous because I had never experienced anything like that. It was really my first public speaking experience in a professional setting, and especially in a research setting on my first research project ever. But the NERA community was so awesome. I met Jonathan on that Zoom. I met Stephen on that Zoom, and they were just so supportive, and they really ignited my passion for education research. So I was able to keep going with it. And that presentation just gave me a lot of confidence as a young woman in STEM and as a young woman in education research. So the following year, because I love my experience at NERA so much, Hannah encouraged me to continue growing. And I ended up submitting a full paper to the in-person 2022 NERA conference. And in that role, I was first author and presenting author for that paper. So that was a different project we had worked on as co-authors. So then I got to go to NERA in Trumbull, Connecticut and really experience it in person. That was my first time meeting Jonathan in person and networking with so many more amazing people. And I had a great time. I was super, super nervous because it was like about a half an hour presentation, and that was the longest presentation I had ever given. I had never had to do something like that in any of my high school classes, never mind about research. But I remember I walked in and I was like shaking because I was so nervous, and I just started, and people were asking questions as I went along, and I felt so supported, and I got so much incredible feedback, and everyone was just amazing in the crowd, and it was such a great experience. And I remember talking about it in many of my college interviews and bringing that experience back to WPI, where I was working with Hannah as my mentor still. So now I am a student ambassador for NERA, and I am working with Jonathan, who will be the president for the next upcoming NERA conference. And we're working to increase participation from students who might be from my background, where they might be participating in NERA at a younger age and at the high school or undergraduate level, and really demonstrating to them that NERA is for them too, and that we can all have a great experience here and learn so much. And some quotes that I had are, as my mentor, Hannah encouraged me to present a poster with her, and I've been involved with NERA ever since. Also, sharing my team's work at NERA allowed me to receive feedback from new perspectives and feel confident in continuing to explore education research. And finally, NERA allowed me to form meaningful relationships with leaders in education research who still support me today. So like I said, when I met Jonathan for about, I don't know, like 20 minutes on that initial virtual poster session, he followed up with me and we stayed in touch ever since. And he served as sort of a mentor to me. And now as a colleague, as we begin our work, kind of expanding access to NERA. So I'm really lucky. And that just demonstrates how supportive and invested the NERA community is in each other's growth. Next one.
Awesome. Okay. Next, and these ones will go quicker because they're not here. So here is a student who came out to NERA last year all the way from California. So she is a research assistant for the Ames Center for Math and Science, a nonprofit center out in California. She got her bachelor's in psychology from Fresno State and attended NERA for the first time as a post-grad in 2023. So she just attended the most recent conference. And Maddie is in the process of applying to grad school. So she came to NERA at a really interesting point where she was trying to figure out what she was interested in and look for different forms of advice. So she said, my NERA experience was so valuable because I was able to connect with so many professionals and students and hear advice on applying to graduate school and each person's path. So Maddie had a really great experience talking to both current graduate students, people that had already finished graduate school, people that stayed in academia, and then people who left academia, like Caroline, who are able to really talk to her about different pros and cons of different graduate schools. So that was her NERA experience. Really, she loved the mentoring aspect. And these mentoring sessions happened more just in casual conversations. They weren't any formal mentoring, but that's one of the great things about NERA is that there's all of these times to eat together to really have these great mentoring experiences. Nellie, do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, it sounds good. Okay, so moving on to Stacy Shaw. So Stacy is an assistant professor at WPI in the Learning Sciences and Technologies program, where Hannah and I were both involved. And I actually spent the summer 2023 working under Stacy. So she has her PhD in psychology from UCLA, and then she came out to Worcester Polytechnic Institute to join as a professor. And Hannah brought Stacy to NERA at the past 2023 conference, and that was her first attendance at all. And she attended as a faculty, so she wasn't presenting anything specifically or didn't submit anything. She was just there to learn more about some of the research going on in the area and to connect with other faculty and students and to hear more about their perspectives. So one of our quote from Stacy is, "Academia is full of silos. NERA provided me a great opportunity to connect with local researchers and educators interested in education. People I probably would have never met without NERA." So especially for Stacy, with her moving across the country and having all of her roots being California, NERA was especially a great opportunity for her to network with more like local education researchers in the New England area, in the Northeastern area, and to form those meaningful connections in person and get to know more people around here that she probably would have never met otherwise.
So, okay. Next we have Elena. Thankful to them for the arrows, so you know who is who. She is a third-year graduate student at the University of Delaware, working towards her PhD in education, specifically learning sciences. And she also attended the NERA conference for the first time in 2023. A big group of us did a symposium all together. So that was a good way to invite others in. And she shared, NERA was a great opportunity for me to connect with other local scholars and learn about work that's happening in education. It also allowed me to serve as a discussant, which can be harder to do at larger conferences. So I actually served as, what is the other main role that's not a discussant? Well, my brain is going away. Session chair. So I served as the session chair and Elena was able to serve as discussant, which we haven't been able to do at other conferences. So it's really great to be able to get that experience at NERA.
And then next we have Avery, who is a postdoctoral research associate at Purdue University, and she graduated with her PhD in learning sciences and technologies along with Hannah from WPI. So that's how we know Avery, and there's a great picture of them there when they presented some of their work on, that's from Wearable Learning, right? One of our big projects at WPI at NERA, which was amazing. So she first attended NERA in 2019, and she attended NERA, and as it says in her quote, as an early PhD candidate. The community is so welcoming with so many ways to participate. I did the 3-minute thesis competition, which really broadened my perspective on how to present my work and tell a compelling story about it. So this also highlights a unique aspect of NERA, and that also highlights the great community at NERA, which was a 3-minute thesis competition, which I saw Hannah participate in 2022. So that was just a great way for her to get feedback on presenting and her public speaking and really pitching her thesis to researchers outside the community, because especially watching so many PhD students go through WPI, I know it's hard to explain your work into a realm outside people who are so familiar with what you're working with. So NERA is a great opportunity to pitch that to people who may be a little bit less familiar, and that spoke to Avery's experience.
And highlighting the practice component of NERA, Avery actually went on to win or come in second at the WPI 3-minute thesis competition about a year later. So NERA really did serve as a great first practice to do her 3-minute thesis competition. Okay. Shelby, do you want to share your own?
Sure, why not? So hi everyone again. I'm Shelby Perry. I'm an adjunct professor at New England Institute of Technology. I work in the business management program with Hank Johnson. But I do have 2 degrees in public health. I just received my master's in public health in September. And it might sound strange that I have 2 degrees in public health but work in business management, but it's public health and business go hand in hand, as you probably saw with the pandemic. I joined NERA in January of 2021 as a public health intern and helped quote unquote plan the conference that year that was virtual on Gather Town. I do remember my first meeting. I got off the phone and cried because I did not know what was happening. I was just kind of thrown into this giant conference call and had no idea what was happening, but I'm really glad that I stuck with it. And now I run the social media, like I said. So if you see any posts, that's me posting, or if you have any like requests, there's a certain process that you guys have to go through, and then it kind of goes to me, and I post, for it. And like Hannah and both Nelly said, NERA was my first conference presentation. I had another one the week later, so it was kind of good to get that experience to present and then kind of adjust my presentation for the next conference the following week. And it actually was my first in-person conference when conferences started to go back to in-person in 2022. And that's where I was able to meet Jonathan, Nelly, and Hannah all in person. And Stephen, I'm still waiting to officially meet you in person after all this time. But like I said, Hank brought me on as the intern, and I'm just really glad to have stuck with it and hope to bring some potential students in the next couple years.
Awesome. Okay, so that was our last personal story that we wanted to share. Next, we're going to talk just about a few themes that we came up with throughout our NERA experience. But I'd love to stop and see if anybody has questions, reflections, or anything to add.
I also want to just add, just like Shelby, after I presented in person at NERA for the first time, we had another conference the following, I think NERA was like Wednesday to Friday. So I had another presentation on Saturday for the New England Psychological Association conference, and I presented my poster, and I got so much like tangible, actionable feedback during my presentation from NERA that I felt so much more confident going into the weekend and having that poster presentation. So I just want to emphasize like how useful NERA can be to get some sort of outside perspectives on your work and just feel more confident in presenting.
Just so you know, we don't have anything in the chat. So by all means, please feel free to unmute and ask Hannah and Nelly or any of us really any questions so far.
Yeah, and we'll pause after each of the next few slides to see if you have questions specifically about something that we share. In this next part, I'm hoping to be just pretty conversational. So Nelly and I can share a few things, but then everyone else jump in, questions, everything's welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing we have that makes NERA special, which I'm sure you've already picked up on, is the supportive environment. So in this picture on the left, we can see Nelly sharing her first in-person conference presentation. And then on the right is myself doing the 3-minute thesis competition, also for the first time. And Nelly and I were just balls of nerves in the hotel room the day before. We were both really nervous. So in us supporting each other, and also NERA just feels like a safe, supportive environment to try these things out for the first time. And I think it also may have to do with the timing of the conference being in October. It's a new year of school. We often have new things to try out that we want to present. I know I was gearing up to defend my dissertation, so the 3-minute thesis competition was really a great environment to practice how I wanted to articulate my research. But just it's overall a supportive environment. Compared to other conferences I go to, we often don't have enough time for audience questions at the end because the conversation is so rich and there's so much discussion on the research. Everyone's genuinely supportive and genuinely interested in each other's research. So that's one thing I especially noticed about NERA.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It felt so much like a family, even though most of these people I was meeting for the first time. And despite the fact that I was literally a high school student attending an educational research conference with so many high up professionals, I felt so supported. And I remember when I walked into the room to give my presentation, it just really felt like a community, and I was prepared to share my work. And it was like it was a smaller room, so it just felt like I had the confidence to do so in a safe environment, and everyone was so supportive and gave me constructive feedback, so I felt prepared to continue my work and improve on it.
Anyone else have anything to share about how they've experienced a supportive environment, or any questions?
Steven added something in the chat that I can quote if that's okay with him. Yeah, so Stephen, who was a past president in 2021 when I presented for the first time, he wanted to add that he'll tell us that he's been to tons of other conferences and that NERA is truly special. The community environment truly makes it a family feel where everyone wants to provide helpful feedback and support others. It's a great conference for students and or professionals at all stages that want to grow, which is so true because you take both just Hannah and I's experience, and in just a couple of years, we have both grown so much within the NERA community. Hannah's now going to be a co-chair, and now I am also serving as a student ambassador. So just demonstrates that we all want to uplift each other and support our growth within NERA. Any questions?
Not a question, but to add to that, I mean, I said I first joined NERA in 2007, and I had been in the working world already for 8 years by that point. I had been at ETS for 2 years at that time, and it was someone that, research scientist that I was working with, and he, without hesitation, based on some work we had done, he said, "You have to get this into NERA." So I'm like, I don't know what NERA is from anything else. So, I don't mind doing a long road trip. At that point, we were having the conference closer to Hartford, Connecticut, but it was definitely an experience that has propelled me to keep coming back year after year and continuing to serve the organization like I'm doing now, because I got to meet other industry professionals. Definitely, like Steven said, it's more of a family feel, because if some other conferences, it's either thousands of people or you're going between hotels, and not the case with NERA. One hotel and everyone just has a chance to be together, eat together, learn together, and socialize. And there are some friendships that I have made that have lasted all these 17 plus years as a result.
Jonathan, I'll piggyback on 2 points there. Number one, I was thinking the same thing you were thinking, that I've been in other conferences, there are tens of thousands of people. And it's nice to have more people, but you see them for 1 minute and you can never see them again. You never find them again. You're jumping around their hotels, going to meals in the middle of the city. You never find them in person. Here you see someone, you meet someone, and then an hour later you at dinner with them, and you find out that they're someone that has a lot of experience, and you meet them and you mentor them for years, and later on they might help you find a job and make connections to you. The people you be near are really become your friends, your family, and people that might help you find jobs in the future. So it's really makes invaluable connections.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll go to the next, even though we already started covering a few of these. Diverse perspectives on education research. So I know that what I find when I go to other conferences is that everyone's research is coming from an academic point of view, typically in most of the other conferences that I go to. So I really appreciate coming to NERA and seeing different perspectives on education research, not just from people in academic positions, but people from all over, well, all over New England, but people from different types of positions and people who experience education in different ways than I do. So I really appreciate that aspect of NERA.
Yeah, definitely. And thinking back to my paper session, I remember just being wowed at, like, within the 3 papers that were being presented, there was so much diversity in the perspectives on education research. I saw in that hour and a half or so. I remember Jonathan presented in my session, and his was on research on the high school history classroom. Hannah and I's research was on computational thinking and student perspectives on computational thinking. And the third paper was about like student internet risk and internet behaviors. And like Hannah said, it didn't have to be from the academic perspective. I remember that paper was presented by I believe they were like teachers, or they had like an administrative role as a principal. So it was really interesting to hear the perspective of a variety of presenters, from like students, professors, and teachers and administration.
Yeah, I can attest to that. So like my research was on the lack of education regarding human trafficking in the medical field, especially on nurses and undergrad nurses. And I mean, that's a very different presentation than the ones that like followed mine or other ones I sat through. So it is really interesting to see and listen to other presentations who are coming from more of like the academic side to more of the just research side, whereas mine's like, I have a solution, here's kind of how I want to fix it. I didn't really have that set data yet. So no, I know I appreciated that aspect.
Definitely. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or any other reflections they'd like to share? And we can always come back to any of these at the end as people think of things.
So next, it's a little similar, but we found that NERA was inclusive and accessible to a wide range of participants. So one of the things I really like about NERA is, to be honest, it's a lot cheaper than a lot of the other conferences I go to. And also being cheaper, it also provides more than any other conference I go to. So when I come to NERA, no offense to Trumbull, Connecticut, but I'm not pumped about going to Trumbull, Connecticut. I am really excited about staying in a hotel for 3 days and hanging out with my friends to talk about education research. So when I check into that hotel, I usually don't leave. We did go for one walk this year, but my conference fee is low, the hotel fee is low, and all my meals are provided for me. So that's really nice. That was really nice as a graduate student going to a conference. I didn't have to worry about access to different things. I did not have to worry about who I was going to eat dinner with, if I was going to be able to find a group to go to a restaurant with. Everyone eats together. So I found it really inclusive and accessible as a graduate student. And then also as a professor, now I look forward to going back, sitting with different people at dinner, and just getting to be in the same space as everyone for a few days.
Yeah. And then speaking more from the high school student perspective, I went into NERA knowing, to be honest, like I had no idea what to expect. It was like my first conference. It was my first time meeting so many different people. And I was really nervous about that because it was something new and unfamiliar and I didn't know how to mitigate it, even with an amazing mentor like Hannah. It's just, I definitely felt very nervous. But what I found that stood out about NERA is that everyone there was there to walk me through the process and really serve as an informal mentor to me and make sure that I felt like I belonged and that I was making the most out of my NERA experience, whether that came through sitting down and talking to me during a meal, like Hannah said, all being in the hotel together was really awesome, honestly. Or showing, like highlighting a presentation that might be of interest to me, or just sitting down and chatting with me and connecting me to other people. It was really awesome and I felt very included and had a great experience overall.
And Jonathan put in the chat the different range of ways to present your work at NERA is also really great. So Nellie started doing a poster, which was the online format. And then she got to move and do a paper presentation, which was her talking for a while, which I know was a little nerve-wracking. And then this year I did a symposium for the first time, which was also really fun. So there's a lot of different options of what you can submit to NERA, and it's easy to find something that you feel comfortable and confident presenting.
Definitely. And I'd also like to note that in progress work is also welcome at NERA. I remember what I presented, even as a full paper, we were still in progress and we were looking to get some feedback on how to complete our data analysis. So Hannah and I were able to present what we had so far and also pose some questions about to the NERA community about how they might approach data analysis, which is also great to get a wide range of perspectives on your work.
Pause for a moment and then I'll move on. Okay. Welcoming community. I don't know if we need to spend a ton of time on this one since everyone has talked about it a few times. But NERA just is a welcoming community. You can see in some of these pictures, this is kind of what dinner looks like. Everyone has a seat with a friend or someone new that they don't know, and it just feels welcoming. I don't exactly know how to describe it, but the second that you walk in the hotel door, you meet the people at the check-in desk, it just feels welcoming. Anyone else have anything to add on that?
Yeah, the picture on the left, just to add context, like this is a multi-generational picture from James Madison University. There are faculty there, and there are, when I said multi-generational, these are multiple cohorts of students. In 2007, when I first went to NERA, it was the JMU people that I first met who came over to me when I was doing a poster. We immediately clicked, and it's every year they bring a multitude of people. They have a big bus that it's well known that they have a bus to come up from Harrisonburg, Virginia. And then they have great faculty mentors, all of whom have gone on into industry and done really well and still come back to NERA year after year after year. So the JMU crew usually does a picture, and there's another large contingent from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and they do a picture as well. So it's really great to see like how over time the family, so to speak, continues to grow, and that shows the impact of how the faculty believes in the power of research and getting their students to present at conferences and get that experience.
Yeah, and definitely just to emphasize that, like after I met Jonathan in 2021, we like really stayed in touch. We would talk like, I don't know, like once every other week or something, and he was updated on everything going on in my life. And I was able to get some advice from him as a mentor, and like he knew about like my college application process and all these different updates in life. So it really just feels like a second family of people here at NERA, and it's just awesome.
Hey, lastly, NERA is fun. So this is not to be left out. NERA, since you kind of stay in the hotel and hang out for a few days, the first time someone told me that, I was like, what do you mean? And now I love it. Now I look forward to it. So there are fun events that come with NERA as well, whether it's watching people at the 3-minute thesis competition, doing some karaoke, playing a bunch of board games. NERA is really, really fun. A few years ago, someone did statistics songs, and I had never been more happy. I didn't hear it last year. I was a little disappointed. But it just really is a space to have fun with your colleagues as well.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun at NERA. We did Hannah and Shelby and I did some fun Taylor Swift karaoke. We had a great time during the karaoke hour. I would like to emphasize that. I was not I was not I did not feel guilty at all about missing school when I was having a great time at NERA.
No one else wants to talk about their fun. Okay. All right. That is all we had. So I'm happy to go back to slides, but I am going to stop the screen share so we can all see each other's lovely faces and just have more of a conversation. We covered.
I'm gonna try and put the NERA LinkedIn link in the chat. I don't know if it's really gonna work. If it doesn't work, I'll figure something else out. But I'm gonna try and post it in the chat.
And we can take any questions on things more specific. Like I know we did not talk about like the nuts and bolts. So like the submission process, what happens when you actually have to present. So any questions like that would be welcome as well.
And I'll just preempt you a little bit by saying that we will probably have a webinar closer to the time when the call for papers comes out, which will be hopefully by early April. So we can walk you through the process. And one of the things that I am hoping to get integrated, and I think some people here are going to help with that, is designing a first conference experience, something we have not tried before, but given it's like I think it was said before, it is rather daunting, and getting to Trumbull, Connecticut, if you are not knowledgeable necessarily about the geographic area, can be a bit overwhelming. So, my team and I are more than happy to help put together material that will help guide you through hopefully every step of the process. And then, we also have a conference ambassadors committee that will be actively involved in kind of greeting you, and there's a welcome breakfast one of the mornings. So they do a great job at making particularly first timers to the conference, make them feel very welcome and comfortable.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions about logistics about getting to the conference, especially for undergrads or high school students, Hannah and I are more than happy to answer those questions because I was 17 when I went to the conference, so that was difficult legally. So we kind of know a lot about the nuts and bolts of getting there and working that out. And I also worked, I think I worked a table to help pay for one of my conference fees. So just want to emphasize that NERA is super accessible and they want to help make sure that everyone who wants to attend the conference can attend the conference regardless of some financial barriers.
So in case you didn't see in the chat, Shelby, so we have 3 different social media platforms that we use: LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So those links are all in the chat.
And then you can also follow up with any of us as well. I'll throw my email in the chat. If you have like a more specific question, you can feel free to email me and ask.
Because I know a lot of you all are past NERA attendees and you might be encouraging future students, whether they be graduate, undergraduate, or high school. And I'm more than happy to talk to them about the student experience and just what I've learned.
I just want to say thank you so much to Hannah and Nelly for putting together all this information and presenting it in such a kind of personal way with pictures and really, I think you did a great job of basically describing the NERA experience as close as possible without having it experienced firsthand. You did a great job in articulating everything and putting it all together and seeing those faces and sharing those experiences, I think is really valuable.
Thank you. It was so much fun getting to see you all and talk. That and I mean the fact that this was fun just like speaks to the NERA community itself. This doesn't feel like work at all. This feels like a fun conversation with fun people.
Yeah. So before Christine has to go, because I know she said it's coming up on that 45-minute mark, this gives me a chance to plug that our 55th annual NERA conference will take place Tuesday, October 8th through Thursday, October 10th at the Trumbull Marriott. Again, more information will be coming in the weeks and months ahead, and with Shelby's help, we will make sure all of that is on social media as much as possible. We also do have an online newsletter called the NERA Researcher. We are collecting articles now, so I have to write mine too. So we will be hopefully having that published sometime in the middle of February, mid to late February, and we'll make sure that I think we usually do advertise that on social media as well. So by all means, please look out for that, and then you can kind of get a sense of I'll have an article in there about where I see the organization going this year, and then you'll hear from various committees and a bunch of other fun things that are going on in the organization. So be on the lookout for that. And thank you both for the website plug.
Thank you to everyone. I do have to hop off now, but I really appreciate the information. The presentation was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
for
Thank you, Christine.
coming.
Take care. Okay.
All right, Nelly, you want to stop the recording?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Sounds good to me.